Hey guys, my name is Natascha Bessez, and I'm so excited today to talk with Chewning. Today we're going to be talking about how music saved my life and all the ways that you can find in your deepest times to love yourself, pick yourself back up, and keep moving ever forward. I can't wait to share my story with you guys, and I hope that it inspires you to get up on your feet and do something that makes you feel alive today.
3, 2, 1.
Natascha Bessez. You'll never know. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
I'm very excited because you are, like I was telling you, kind of like a spearhead for me into just tapping into untapped stories, at least in my world. You have done so much with your career and just been so committed of what I can only tell on the surface of your process, of your craft, of your passion. I would love to kind of like go back to like, how did you know singing and performing wasn't just something that you wanted to do, but was like who you are? Because everything I can read of you so far is like, it's all there, all music, all commitment all the time. And so you've got to know that's who you are.
I think it's not something you know, it's just something that you do. You know, it's not like, well, I know this is who I am, because I'm so much more than just music, you know, like that's why it's been so hard for me, I think, sometimes to put myself in like a box or a lane, because there's so many more things that I love and that inspires me to do what I do, right? Which is performing. It's really like performance that I love the most. You know, when I was little, I always had music around me. My grandmother's a tango singer. So my mom's from Chile and my dad's from France. So I had a lot of Spanish music on in the house all the time.
I can only imagine.
And then we had a lot of French music in the house all the time from my dad. And so I had this love for like these beautiful melodies from these French, Charles Aznavour and Serge Gainsbourg. And then my mother would put like Luis Miguel and Cristian Castro. And, you know, my grandmother, her stage name was Margarita de Chile, and she sang tango. So it was always like, music was always blasting. It was never not a part of my life. And then I started singing opera when I was little. That was my thing. I loved opera.
Wow.
And so I'd go around the house torturing my family, basically. They'd be like, why did we have you? Because you're just torturing us. And then...
Why is your mouth just staying open forever and noise is coming out?
Yeah, they'd have dinner parties. You know, they love to host. And that's probably where my love of having, like, always people around me was from. And,
okay.
And I'd come out, you know, in an outfit at, like, I don't know how old I was, like 6 or something. I'd be like, the show is starting, everyone. Please enjoy your appetizers. The show is starting. So it was always
like flicking the lights. Hey, take your seats. Take your seats. Here we go.
I should have done that. I didn't do much lighting and performance. But yeah, it was always like an outfit. And I was always, I enjoyed being, you know, watched, I guess, if that makes any sense. But I enjoyed expressing, you know, and it involved dance. It involved costumes. It would involve, you know, makeup and jewelry. And I'd always, you know, it was art, really, and anything involving that. And I was always creative in school when it came to art. And so when I hit time to go to high school, we had to pick. I'm born and raised in New York City, so at that point we only had a few choices. You know, when you have like certain goals,
you gotta like pick a lane.
Yeah, kind of gotta pick a lane. So we had like, there was like Stuyvesant School, and then there was, you know, a science school, and there was, you know, a tech school, and then there was a music school. And I was like, this is what I'm doing. Like, there's no doubt.
Seems pretty natural.
Yeah. And so I went to LaGuardia School, which is like the Fame School. Have you ever seen the movie Fame?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's that school. And we basically have majors. So there's like instrumental major, vocal major, dance major, art, and tech. I think I'm missing one, but they're all dance.
I'm sure someone on the internet will fill it in for us.
Yeah. So I was a vocal major there, and I decided, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, this is it. And I auditioned with a Christina Aguilera song. I sang I Turn to You. I was 12, 13.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm doing this. I think
That's
I studied.
That's a powerful song to take on.
She's been like my idol since I was 12. So I'm like, I'm going to do this. And just, you know, Celine Dion was my first love. So I would sing all of her songs around the house.
Oh, you get along great with my wife then.
I can't wait to meet her.
We went out to Vegas for her last show.
Was it amazing? I never got to see her live.
She's an interesting character.
Yeah.
Random sidebar, but yeah, I mean, hell of a performer. You can't deny her skill.
It's that French Canadian, like this passion. No, there's no one that's matched Celine in years and years and years. And that's that kind of classic pop romance music that I've always been attracted to, like those big, powerful ballads. So that's kind of what I went for after school. And then in school, I started falling in love with gospel music.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I had never, I mean, my family were Catholic, but we're not very religious. And we never really did. I mean, when we would go to church back in the day, like we were not about to listen to what they were singing, you know? It was like, I was not. So when I heard gospel music for the first time in my fellow students that went to Baptist churches, I was like, this is magical.
I grew up Southern Baptist, very familiar with that.
Magical.
Yeah.
It was anything like I've ever heard before. And so I was like enamored by it. And I had begged my teachers to let me into the class early because it was only for juniors and seniors.
Okay.
And I was a sophomore and I was like, this is where I need to be. I don't want to be in chamber music or like opera class. I want to be in gospel music. So I had swindled my way into gospel class. So I was basically the youngest girl there and the only blonde, fake blonde there.
I can see a gospel blonde usually don't quite go.
No, I was the only one. Yeah. My school was predominantly, Hispanic, African American, and I was one of the only. I mean, I'm Hispanic, but you wouldn't tell normally by looking at me. But I stood out like a sore thumb in my class.
In a good way.
I hope in a good way. Yeah. And so I auditioned for all the leads because I was like, this is so me. I feel so connected to this. And I ended up getting a lead, and there was like, I think 150 or 200 students in the choir. And I was like the highlight of my school career musically. Yeah. I was like, I had just so much energy from everyone around me. And you get inspired by people that you're with. It's kind of like now as adults, it's like who do you hang around with are the people that influence your life.
5 people you hang out with the most, they say. Yeah,
exactly. So for me, being around that kind of talent, that was just innate from families doing it for generations, and just the soul and the feeling of singing. Because I used to always sing by kind of copying what I loved, as opposed to feeling what I was singing.
Okay.
And I think that takes time to sort of stop thinking and start feeling when you're working with music.
Just being it.
Being it, yeah. Feeling what you're singing is so hard. And, there's singers that are technically really great, but you're like, I don't believe you.
I know what you mean.
And then there's singers that might not be as great, but you're like, I want to cry every time I hear them.
For me, music, I'm sure you're the same way. It's like, it's a connection piece. It's like from the first note, from the first lyric. I always am more attracted, like lyrics hit me first, and then the music kind of just goes secondary. But it's a true connection. It's I think it's a bullshit test, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's great is that it's so specific to certain people. Like some people really connect to it and some people really wouldn't. So it's, when you say like, oh, it's a good music, it's like for who? It's all subjective.
Yeah.
And so, but at least for me, when I feel most authentic is when I really can feel what I'm singing and believe the words that I'm singing. So post that, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to focus only on that. And school can wait. I was going to apply for college, and I was like, I'll wait a year and see what I can do. And then that year, kind of all my doors had opened for me in so many different directions I didn't expect. So I was like, you know what, maybe it's just, I'm going to keep going with the flow, and with each opportunity, take advantage of the good things that the universe is bringing me and just see where that goes,
Was this about the time you talking about your first appearance? I correct my date if I'm wrong. 2007 when you began was the Pussycat Dolls. I forget the name of the show, but it was like
the Search for the Next Doll.
Search for the Next Doll. Yeah. Was that the first big opportunity?
Well, in 2005, I competed for the Miss New York pageant, and I ended up winning Miss New York on my second try, because the first time I was like, I have no idea what I saw it on TV. Saw these girls like walking around, and I was like, I can do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did you go from the music to
it was just one of those things when you're like, I can do that. Why am I not doing that?
Not everyone says that.
I don't know what it was. It was a moment that I had when I was watching the show.
How did you know you could do it? Like, how did you know you've had so many instances already where I can just tell, like, you just exude confidence and you just step into it not needing to step into it and figure it out. It seems like you just step into it and I know that's me.
Yeah, I just, I'm really, I don't think intuitive in some ways, where I can feel like I'm like, okay, that's not something I'm going to be comfortable in, or that's something that I feel like I could thrive in.
Okay.
And so I sort of get connected to being like, okay, I could see myself doing that. Like I could envision myself on TV doing exactly what they're doing. Why can't I do that?
Like it doesn't seem unrealistic for you.
No, it wasn't like,
wow, okay.
Oh, I could never imagine myself. Like I always put myself, I'm very much a visualization person when it comes to things that might scare me, or like, okay, if I can see myself doing that, then I'm good. It's going to happen. It's going to, that's the first step in becoming, right? Is
if you can bottle that up and sell it, you'd be killing it. There are a lot of people that are like, I need some of that.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. It was just one of those, I was feeling good that day. And I was like, you know what, let's see what we can do. I love people. And for me, if I can connect with people in whichever way it is, which I think why performance is so such a big part of my life is you're not singing for yourself. You're singing for an audience. You're singing to touch someone, whether it be to make them dance and be happy, to make them, connect with an emotion that they might not have wanted to and let it go.
Get them to think about things in a different way, to like have a breakthrough.
Exactly. And that's so important. Music for me is my breakthrough. When I'm on the verge of crying or if I'm really sad about something, I have to put on a song to like flush it out. And then once it's done, you're like, okay, I feel so like they got me. There's someone in this world that gets me and I can connect with them and then I can like let it go and move on to something. And that's the thing about music. Every aspect of how you're feeling, you can find a song to relate to it, to kind of like
100%
be understood in a way.
Yeah, so you got that same feeling with pageantry.
Yeah. So when it came to that, there's like a section where there's an interview, live on camera. They're like, so tell us, how do you feel about so? And I was like, I love that part. That's like my favorite part. So let's go for it. So I had applied and they were like, okay, you're accepted. And I had to do all these things. My mom and I were like, what do we do? And people have been doing this for years, like with training and with coaches and these girls have their dresses custom made for them. And I was like, what, this is a thing? Like these people spend money to make this a thing? And I started learning about it, and not until after I had done my first one. I came in with like a leopard dress, which is so not me. I was like, how old was I? I was like 16. I had like a leopard dress.
I hear it's making a comeback.
I don't know what I was thinking. And I placed top 5 out of like, I think 200 girls.
Wow.
So I was like, now I know what I'm doing. Now I know what the process is. I kind of got hungry. I got my feet wet and I was like, all right, let's go for it. And then the next year I did my work. I was like, okay, what do the winners wear? They wear white. Like something like 80% of the winners end up having a white dress. So I'm like, okay.
Kind of like looking at the end result and reverse engineering.
Exactly. Like, how do I get to that goal? And then working by the steps of like, and I think that's kind of what I've done most of my life as well for other projects, not only for that, but it really like that year specifically being Miss New York helped me in so many ways. There's so many things that people don't realize about pageantry, and they think it's like, oh, it's just a smile and have a pretty girl, and
like
she's
what?
And unable to form proper sentences. But it's a feeling of knowing that you are held at a certain standard, that little girls are looking up to you. Like I'm not a drinker, I'm not a smoker, I've never used drugs in my life, so it's never been something where I've had to be careful about what I've done. I've always been careful to do something, to portray who I really am and not be like a hypocrite about things.
Right, yeah.
But, there'd be times where I'd go to an event or a red carpet or movie premiere and they'd have drinks and I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to do that because there are little girls who I've never experienced going to an event and I had my crown on me and there were these little girls, they're like, I love you. I want to be just like, I was like, but why? I don't understand
you don't know anything about me.
You don't, like, what do you want to be, And it was just this feeling of needing to be like the right role model. And so in all those senses, you start working on yourself. You're like, okay, where do I need to be better? And I think a lot of my confidence came from that time. Like I didn't know how to pose for a photo. I didn't know how to walk a real runway. I didn't know how to, and here I am at 18 years old in high heels and a bikini on national television doing a swimsuit competition.
That sounds like my 18th birthday party. Yeah.
You're very lucky. And I'd never gone to the gym before in my life. I had never like pushed myself in any ways. And for the first time in my life, I was challenging myself. And to do it at that age, I think really changed my whole mindset as to what I do now as an adult. Like in my 30s, I always tell myself, like, if I really push myself out of my comfort zone and challenge myself to a place, I can get to places I never thought I would be able to be, and it was the fittest I'd ever been. It was the happiest I'd ever been. It was the most motivated I'd ever been. And I was happy with myself and the things that I was doing for people. And I spoke against teen dating violence and drinking and driving and so many different organizations that meant something to me. And I went to schools and spoke about these issues at schools, and it just made me feel like this is what I want to do. I want to help change people's feelings or lives or mentalities or inspire them in some way. And I think from that, it had opened up so many doors in my mind to be like, okay, I had this quote on my fridge. It was like, what would you do if you knew you could never fail? And I kind of went into that pageant for the first time being like, I'm not going to fail. Like, I'm not failing. I'm walking in here, I'm winning. And these poor, I say it now, but like these poor girls were there being like, this is your last year to do it because you're going to age out. I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm winning this year. So
so I'm going to go out in the best way possible.
I feel really, I'm sorry. It's like, she's like, I've been doing this 6 years in a row and I had a trainer and a thing. And I was like, at the end of the day, you look rehearsed. Like it feels rehearsed.
Like you were saying earlier, like you may have it all down, but I don't believe you.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And it was so overly prepared to the point where it didn't feel natural. And then here I come being not coached, not really prepared. My mom and I did some homework, but I was myself. And I think that's when the audience and the judges were like, okay, we can connect to someone who's more authentically natural as opposed to, I have to pose with my hands like this and I have to turn at this degree angle. And it's just not realistic. And at the end of the day, you want someone that you can relate to, right? So, at that point, it was kind of like, I'm sorry you put so much work into this, but if you need to just like let go a little bit and let go of like the overthinking.
Just surrender to the process a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think as we get older and as things go by and maybe things don't work our way, we start to become a bit desperate to be like, okay, what can I do to change who I genuinely am in order to please people? And, for me in my life, it kind of went in waves and phases of like, okay, I want to please people, but then I want to be myself and just like screw everyone. Am I allowed to curse here?
Fuck it.
And, it was, it's a learning process, because at that age, you feel like you're unstoppable and invincible. And you're like, shit, everything's going my way. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to work with this person, that person. I got a manager. I went to Europe. I recorded some Europop records at that point. People hired me to write on their records. I was like, I'm fucking 21 and killing it. Like, shit, this is what I want to do. And I was traveling the world and I was doing everything I wanted. And then, opportunities come, like the Pussycat Dolls then came. And I'm not like a trained dancer. I enjoy dancing. I mean, I have rhythm and I enjoy it, but it's not something where I can like see a choreographed routine and be like, boom, I can just do that in 5 minutes.
Break it down and repeat.
No, I'm like, that's not my forte. Yeah. I can sing back anything you sing to me, but I can't like dance back anything. So it was a challenge for me to do the show. And, once again, I went in with that mentality of like, I can't lose, it's all mindset really. And it's so hard to do that when you have people in your circle that might not feel the same way with your mindset. Yeah. And I think as I got older, I started having people in my circle that were a lot more negative. And so
Isn't that just funny how it goes like that? You're growing, you're going, and then it's just like,
it's a journey. It's like, it's hills and valleys and peaks and that's why it's funny when you're young. You're like, shit's fucking awesome. Things are going great. I can't lose, And then you're like, wait a minute,
but I can. You've mentioned quite a few times this concept of role model.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have such a strong concept of that or being that for other people? Did you have one that left a strong impression for you and you're trying to like maybe pay it forward or?
That's funny. I never thought of that. But, my parents are also probably a big role model for me as well. But I'm the eldest of 3. I have 2 younger brothers. Oh, high five. Yeah. And so I don't have like a sister that I was like trying to be like, don't do this or don't do that. My brothers were very like super independent, incredibly intelligent, made great decisions, So
you're the oldest and you have 2 younger brothers.
I have 2 younger brothers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, one's 2 years younger, one's 9 years younger. So it was always like they're good. Like I don't have to worry too much about them. So for me, it was more so like I wanted to make myself proud in just sticking to what I'd go to a party when I was younger and I'd walk in the door and house parties in New York were like the best. I mean, I'm sure other places are cool too, but in New York, it was always like you go to someone's apartment, their parents aren't there and it's like shit's crazy. And I'd get there and I'd get all dressed up and I'd get excited to go to the party and like my friends are there, it's going to be so fun. I'm going to talk to boys. It's going to be so great. And then I get there and everyone's like belligerent drunk. People are throwing up in the bathroom. People are like shebang-a-langing in some room. And I'm there and I'm like, first of all, I'm not interested in doing that with anyone. I'm not drinking to get drunk. Like I would drink to like have a little bit of fun, but I've never really gotten drunk in my life.
Just got to have a cup to hold at the party.
Yeah. I'm not one to like, I've gotten drunk once or twice in my life and I'm like, never again. It was the worst feeling. And then I would get to the party and then I'd be like, why am I here? Like, why? I'm not enjoying myself. This isn't fun for me. And so I would leave, and my mom would be like, why are you home? What happened? I was like,
you're supposed to be out breaking curfew.
Yeah. You know, and I was like, I'm not having fun. Like, I'd rather have fun with things that excite me, like people that I'm interested in. And I don't know. I was never like attracted to that. I was always older people attracted me, things that I never knew about that I wanted to learn about, traveling, different places, different languages. You know, I learned Spanish fluently when I was like 19 because I was just obsessed with it and I wanted to like be really a lot better. I mean, French is my second language, Spanish is my third, Dutch is kind of my fourth. But I have been, you know, when you're just focused on doing something that excites your mind as opposed to just being like, I just want to get drunk and fuck shit up. It's like, I don't know.
It's like that zone of genius. It's like when you know this allows me to like really fully be in my element as much as possible. Not to say that the rest of it doesn't matter, but it just becomes way less of a priority. Yeah. I've experienced that a lot over the years, and it's fun to have fun. It's fun to do whatever you want. Like I'm a big proponent of letting go in your safest way possible.
No, you have to.
But when you know, like, I can show up, I can be in my lane, I can do what I'm here to do. It's like, why do anything else?
Yeah. You know, and I think maybe that just wasn't the time for me to do that, because then in my like early 20s, I had a lot of fun. Like I would go out, but it would be a different vibe. You know, it wasn't like a bunch of, I love to dance, you know, so I'd go out into every New York club and I would dance on every table and I would have all the champagne and I would have all my fun. And at that point is when I started meeting all the DJs at all the clubs, and I became friends with the DJs, friends of the owners of the clubs, and then that's when I started performing in clubs. Wow. And it just kind of, you know, it snowballed. It's like you are around with what you love, and then sort of things kind of come to you. And I did a couple shows at like Marquee. I don't know if you've ever been to.
I haven't been there. I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
It was like, it's like one of the biggest, best clubs. They have like the best sound system. And I remember did a show and the DJ was like, I'd love to do some stuff with you. Like, let's work on some projects. And I was like, let's go. And it was a charity event someone had hired me for. And I had done the party. And then it snowballed to that. And I had met some writers and some producers that were like, let's work on those projects. And then I was doing top lines for DJs in New York and then DJs in LA, and then heard people in, you know, Europe heard me. So I went to Europe to write for DJs there.
So you had done it. You had kind of like, was it just you woke up and realized like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is who I am? Or was it just kind of?
No, I was figuring out what I wanted to do. And I still, you know, with every phase in my life, you start being like, okay, this is not what I want to do anymore. I want to do something else. So music-wise, for me, your tastes change, you know? And as an artist, what you're experiencing also changes because your life changes about what you're writing about. Like at the time, I was writing about like having fun and doing stuff and being myself. And now I'm writing about like intense heartbreak and, you know, how to pick myself back up off the floor and like all these different things. So yeah, in the beginning, I didn't really know what sound I wanted to do because I loved just singing anything. So I was like, all right, I got the opportunity to sing with a DJ. Let's do it. And at the time, it was progressive house music. Mm-hmm. And that was when it was like popping off, when dance music was like hardcore. And I was like, how do you dance to this? Like, what do you do? It's just a bunch of like jumping and the hand and fist bumping. And I'm like, okay, I've never danced like that before. I'm all like booty dancing.
We'll figure it out.
You know? So I'm like, here we go. And, you know, with each opportunity, I'm like, let's see, you know? Yeah. And so I don't really know if I was like, this is exactly what I'm doing and going straight forward, like head on with a plan, which maybe might have helped me. But I just kind of went. Maybe. Yeah. I kind of just went for it with who I connected with, you know? And it's like, oh, that feels good. Let's go for it. It was just always a feeling.
I want to tap into your creative process a little bit. You were just talking about in different seasons of your life, you were paying attention to that, and it showed up in your writing and in your music. There are a lot of creatives. That word right now, I think there are a lot of versions of creativity, videography, photography, the internet, social media. How do you tap into your creative flow? What does that look like? Is it stillness? Is it journaling? How do you go from what's in your head and in your heart to, you know, creating something?
So I journal a lot. Okay. I definitely have just like notes and notes and notes of how I feel. It's always about like, if I can't express myself to someone the way I want to, I'll write it. Okay. And it won't make any real sense. Like it won't be like a song. I don't think of it as a song. I think of it as just like expression. Okay. So it'll be whether I'm happy or whether I'm sad. Mostly when I'm happy, I'm pretty easy to express it verbally to that person or to wherever I'm feeling. It's mostly when I'm like sad or when I'm confused or when I'm frustrated that I'll write it out. And then it kind of goes from that into, I mean, like the literal process of how I make a song is if I'm sent a track, for example, I see kind of how that makes me feel, right? So if the song feels
So
kind of
immediately you have like a visceral sensation or no?
Immediately, yeah.
Wow.
I think it's like you close your eyes, you feel the track, and you're like, okay, what does this make me feel? Like I feel torn, or I feel enlightened, or I feel like whatever that may be. And then I'll go through my notes and I'll say, okay, what's genuine to me of how I'm feeling in the moment and what matches kind of what this song is going for. I love to collaborate with people. I'm always envious of those people that can just sit down with a guitar and like write a song from start to finish. I'm like, how does this happen?
It is pretty amazing.
What do you do to make this happen?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't tried it, so I can't say that it might never happen for me, but I think I've just always been scared to see like how that would happen. But maybe one day I'll, push myself to make that a reality. But I've always loved the energy with someone else, So if I'm sitting in the room with another writer, it's kind of like, well, how do you interpret how my feelings are? Like, this is how I feel. How would you interpret that? They're like, oh, I see it like this. And I'm like, oh, I never saw it like that. Let's make that, relatable. So the topic isn't like specific where you can take it into whatever you feel in that moment, and that's what music's about. You can relate it to, this feeling about love could be about a grandparent or about a lover or about a sibling, or you want it to be general enough so people can connect to it and feel a sense of healing in a way.
Absolutely. And then when you actually have that thing ready to share, whether it's the beat, the song, or the finished product, do you have any hesitations or reservations around sharing it out?
Oh my God, all the time.
I mean, because that's like, yo,
it's
here's
like the
my,
worst
here's my
thing.
heart.
It's it's scary. It's scary, but what else are we here for? If we're not going to be just genuine about how we're doing things, it's not worth it for me. It's not worth it. And I've been sent so many songs by so many different producers back earlier in my career when I was flown out to LA first class. Natascha, we want to sign you. Natascha, these are the songs you're going to sing. There's a rapper on the record. It's going to be released with blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. I mean, the amount of, and so then you get there and you start singing this and I'm like, this isn't me. Like, I'll never forget this moment. Wow. Like, I was in the studio once with this guy and he's this producer. He was a British producer and he was like, okay, Natascha, this is very important. You need to sing this song like
Great
you're
accent,
being
by the way.
fucked by a large black man in a dark club. And I was like, I'm sorry, excuse me? He was like, yes, that's exactly how you need to do this
I was
verse.
feeling a different vibe, but that's an interesting point.
This is what he tells me.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. I just don't think this is going to be for me. I was like, I want to sing about, like, love songs and, like, what is going on?
What an interesting motivation, I guess.
Yeah, there's just all sorts of people that want you to be something that fits their agenda. Like, we need this artist. We need her to be like this and this. And at the time, it's when Jessie J was popping off and she was and she did that song, Do It Like a Dude. I don't know if you remember that. I was like, this girl. I'm madly in love with Jessie J.
She's a powerhouse. Wow.
Just the control in her vocal is just, I'm like, this girl isn't normal. But at the time, it was like that very aggressive, like Gaga was at her peak. It was that very aggressive, very masculine, very like, do me anywhere. Like, and it's not who I am, And so it's hard to walk away from things that aren't you when you've been given like a big opportunity to do something. But I've walked away in so many instances just because why would I want to do something that's not authentic to what I am? And then in time you realize what you're not in order to find out what you are. I think that's also a big thing. After I did Pussycat Dolls, I got off that show being like, okay, now I know what I'm not. Like, I'm not a burlesque dancer. That's not who I am. And so it made it clear. I was happier because it was clear for me. I think you have to sometimes do all the things that don't work for you in order to find the things that do.
That's how you never have a failure, because everything, no matter how you want to look at it, teaches you how to propel yourself onto the next version. You learn to do more of this or less of that.
Yeah, and that's why every direction you go, you find out the one that's right for you. It's like a little chisel, and you keep going until you find your gold. But yeah, the process. I don't know if I answered your question even. The process to when I make music is when I get sent the tracks. I feel how it is, and then I kind of in the moment feel the energy. Sometimes it'll take an hour to write a song. Sometimes it'll take a week. So it just depends on the person, what mood you're in. You know, if I'm writing, if I'm feeling super heartbroken and I don't want to do anything but cry, and I'm writing a song about like let's party and dance, it's gonna be hard.
It's probably not gonna translate that well.
No,
I guess. In an industry, I can only imagine. I'm not in it. In an industry where I'm sure there is a lot of, hey, this is what's working, this is what's hot, this is what's not. What's that been like? Have you been able to kind of carve your own path, carve your own voice, no matter what, or honestly, is it a little bit of like, all right, I need to kind of adopt this sound, this look, this feel right now because this is just what's happening.
So hard. It's so hard because part of you is like, okay, I just need that one song to get myself through that door in order for people to even hear me, in order for me to make this music that I want to make. And so you're like, okay, do I do it because it feels like the right business move to do? Or do I just keep swimming upstream to try and force down something that might not work for what's happening right now, you know? Like at that time when Gaga was doing her things, I was doing like a retro dance thing. I had a very like Brigitte Bardot style.
Okay.
It was very different. And like nowadays that's really popular, like the high-waisted fashion looks and the more classic old Italian, old French icons is more popular now than it was 10 years ago when I was doing it. So had I stuck with it, would things have been different? Maybe, but no one was like, they wanted dance records. They wanted something different. So I was sort of going with the flow, but then again, if you're not, it's hard. If you're not at a certain place already and you're going with the flow, like you're kind of invisible in some way. You're just kind of going with it. So I don't know. It was an in the moment decision every time of like, what am I going to do that's going to best serve me for the moment? To see where we can then take it to. So, and with each opportunity, you know, new things came to me. After that, I was working with this artist, this writer and producer with these DJ records, and then he had a record that was accepted to Eurovision. I don't know if you know Eurovision.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's like the Olympics for songwriters.
Yeah.
And all of Europe and some other countries participate.
You won something in Eurovision?
So I participated in the Eurovision for Denmark.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go back into my homework here.
You're so good. Basically it's the songwriters have to be from that country, and then they select an artist to perform the record. So he had selected me to do it, and I was like, this is the honor of a lifetime. It was live in front of like 60,000 people in the audience, and then it was around 2 million people on TV. And then the people call in and like say who they want to represent their country in order to go to Eurovision, which is around 2 billion people that watch live TV. And then there's like, I don't know how many countries compete, but many, many countries compete.
This is the global.
Everything, it's global except for South
affair.
America. It's not South America and it's not America. It's just.
Are we too cool?
I don't know what it is. It would be cool if we did it, but it's like it's.
Come on, America, get with it. Let's go.
It's an amazing show. It's like, you know, it's more family friendly and kid friendly. So when I did the show, it was like a dream come true for me. My mom did my costume. Because I was like, this is my vision. She's like, let's do it. She's always done my costume and my stylings for all of my like, you know, photo shoots or red carpet events or performances or whatever. And so I was like, all right, this is our time to like have our stuff shown. It was really fun. The producer writer ended up being my best friend. And so I was like, I'm singing my best friend's song. I'm wearing my mom's
the whole
stuff.
Squad
like
there,
it was just one of those moments where you're like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is where I'm meant to be. And I was terrified. Obviously, like I stopped breathing before because they're in your ear. They're like 5, 4, 3, and I'm like, holy shit, this is live. Like I can't fuck up. You know, it was hardcore.
So what did you do?
I mean, I didn't fuck up, and I came in second.
Okay.
Which was pretty awesome. It was never been done before by a non-Danish person.
Wow.
So I was proud of myself. It was pretty great. Yeah, I was tied, and the judges ended up picking. This boy named Basim, who's adorable and so sweet, but he's Danish, so obviously he would represent Denmark a lot more. Maybe it was like a political situation, but it was just one of those moments. You're like, I want to do this over and over and over and over again, forever. And and from there, other opportunities came to me, and I was like, you know what, I'm ready to just focus every day. And what's hard is that at one point you start to think, and I think that's the problem.
Well said. You start to think.
You get in your own head, you're like, okay, I'm getting older. You know, I haven't made the financial success that I want to make with this music that I've been putting out. I haven't, you know, and then you're hard on yourself. You start thinking, and then, you know, you
start focusing on everything that you perceive as went wrong, or what you
Right.
could have done, should have done, would have done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you start forgetting about all the things that you have done. And it's like, holy shit, some girl, like no girls can say they've done what I've done. You know, I'm in a small pool of people that have done it alone. Like I've had no investors. I've had no management connections. I've had no, you know, labels to push things. It's all been
Wow, that's
through
amazing.
what I've done on my own. And I have to be proud of myself on those levels. And you have to remind yourself, like, don't be so hard. But then you start thinking, you're like, okay, what can I do more? What can I do better? How can I improve myself? What can I do that's different from what I've been doing in order to get to a different place, you know? And with those things comes a lot of insecurity, comes a lot of self-doubt, comes with a lot of, well, if they've done it, maybe I can't do it, and maybe there's no place for me to be in that space. And then, unfortunately, I have some people in my life that are very practical. I'm not a very practical person. I think I'm more of a risk taker and more of someone who's
Clearly.
I just kind of jump in the deep end, and I'm like, I can swim.
You'll
Let's do
figure out how to
this.
swim,
We're going to figure it out as I go. And, you know, and these practical people that I love very dearly tend to get in your head sometimes of like, Natascha, there's only 2% of the people that get to where you want to be. And I'm like,
isn't that just great how they have to remind us of reality all the time?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell is that for? Like, that's not going to help anyone. It's just going to deter you from really where you want to go. And sure, there's a million things you can say that will make you feel like I should give up. And I've felt like I wanted to give up 100,000 times, you know?
Can we go to the bottom of the bottom? What was the moment where you maybe even contemplated giving up?
Ugh, I
didn't.
contemplate it every other day, to be honest. But it's
What was the moment, and like what was the process to come back out of that?
I'm trying to think when I've had a lot of lows. I'm trying to think which is like the worst of the worst. For me, it's all emotional lows than anything, because like I don't know why it is. I hate competition stuff, and I end up always getting into competition.
So you're like always in a competition. What are you talking about?
Always, and I
don't believe you.
I really don't enjoy it. I don't like the feeling of competition because it's not real. Like every artist, especially is musical, like there's no competition. We're all different. You know, we all give something different. We all express differently. That doesn't mean one's better than the other. It's just the stars that night, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
I like that.
does it really, is it real? I don't ever take competition as real. Like, who won Miss USA that year? Miss Teen USA was Miss Ohio. I love her. She's adorable. Was she better than Miss Nebraska or Miss Kansas? No, she was just in the right spot at the right time. The 5 judges that were there liked her better that night because whatever, you know, like, but the same thing goes with everything else we do that's artistic. It's always someone's opinion as opposed to who it could be touching. So competition doesn't really exist for me. It's more so of like, okay, I'm just in another stage of my career, you know? But my lowest of my low. So to get to that point was when I'm not chosen or when I don't win, I never see it as like a failure. It's not like I've lost and my life is over. Like I've never had those kind of lows.
Okay.
I never take it seriously. Like recently I was on the Bachelor's Listen to Your Heart.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And again, it was like a competition show. I'm like, why do I put myself in these situations? And this one was, thank you, but it was love based, you know, and that's why I was wanting to do it, you know, because I lead always with my heart. And if I don't feel like I'm so in it heart wise, I don't want to do it. So I was like, okay, this is love directed with talent and someone that understands my brain, you know, because if there's another artist, he'll get it. Yeah. You know?
So there's a lot more riding on the line than just, hey, let me talk to this other person and let me create. I mean, this is kind of 2 big, meaningful tracks in your life coming together at one time, right?
Exactly. And I had told myself, I was like, I would never be on The Bachelor unless it was music related. And I said that out loud, like to the universe.
No one says that. Who
says that?
So you created the show.
I created the show, guys.
You
just so you all know, I manifested it into reality. But it was, you know, finding love is hard enough, you know, someone that you can connect with on so many deeper levels because, yeah, there's so many superficial levels you can connect with someone. But when it becomes, for me, it needs to have all 3 or 4 in order for it to work, you know, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And
I would agree.
If it doesn't have that, like, it's just going to crumble, right? So these types of shows are not always authentically geared towards the people in the room you're going to connect with.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a show. There's an agenda. There's production that has to go on.
It's a reality show. And I feel like a lot of people forget that it's a reality show. But
who's reality though?
What is reality? I was going in with like an open heart. You know, I had just come out of a relationship that really, really put me in a place where I was like, I cannot let myself get, you know, destroyed by this. I need to like pick myself up and get back into it. So it was like a motivation to be like, okay, this is a sign, you know, and I really believe in signs, and I really believe in the universe giving you these signs in a way to direct you where you need to go, even though you think you might not want to go there, you know. But I always ask the universe things. You know, I'm not very religious, but I am spiritual in that sense where it's like, if this person's not meant to be in my life, please remove them, because it's just, I don't know what to do. It's like, please remove them. And then you wonder why certain people do certain things, and they kind of show you who they really are, and you're in the place where you're like, okay, I don't want to believe this. I don't want to believe this is who you are. And then you...
Some bitter truth sometimes.
Yeah, it's a hard... And I think those were my lowest points. When I had a love relationship that I was blindsided by in certain instances. And that really puts me at the place where I lose myself in a way. And I think with each relationship that I've had, you learn to not do that. You learn to not lose yourself. Yeah. Because in the beginning, I would be so enamored by making that person happy, you know, that I would forget about making myself happy.
Yeah.
And it becomes like an addiction almost of like, what can I do to make us happy and do things for us together? And I'm an empath, and I'm always giving, and I'm always like, I want to cook you dinner, and I want to clean the house, and I want to make it sexy, and I want to put something nice on, and I want to do this, and I want to make a plan, and I would go on trips, and I would do the itinerary, like I would do the whole thing. Yeah. And then when I realized, like, am I doing this for the, you know, for the relationship, or am I doing it generally to make me happy? You know, where's the balance in my effort and then their effort in certain ways? But
what am I really doing, and how am I measuring it?
Exactly. And I think when that person leaves your life for whatever reasons, or you realize they're not right for your life and you walk away from it, you're kind of left with, they took everything with them, like all that effort that you put in and all that. So I was lost a lot in love when I was younger, and you don't really realize it until you've gone to your lowest low, and you're like, that is a feeling I never want to feel again, and I will never let myself be in that point. So I think, you know,
I think you learn yourself the most at that moment.
100%.
Personally speaking.
Yeah, you learn what it is that you are capable of, and my lowest low, I think, will forever be 6 years ago when I was with a boyfriend, and he was living with me, and we were talking about, you know, marriage and children and all these things, and his family was disapproving of me because of my religion. He was a different religion than I was, and for me, I didn't care.
Yeah, I
was a part of all of his religious activities, and we did everything together, and I was super open, and I was like, our kids will have both, have fun. Like, that's, what's better than that, you know?
Accepting, again, like your point earlier, there's no competition here.
No.
We're all here winning, you know?
That's the way it should be, and I think he was under so much pressure from his family to be like, this is what you need to do for the family, and blah, 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 that he left me, and it was in such a way that I was clueless to what he had thought. It was like, one day to the next, he's like, I'm going to go see my fam for a couple days. I'll see you in like a week. I was like, all right, babe, enjoy. I'll see you in a week. And then while he's there, he's like, I'm never coming home. And I was like, what do you mean you're never coming home? Like, he's like, yeah, I decided that I need someone from my own religion. And I'm like, how is this real life right now? Like, we have a home together, you know?
What a steamroll. Oh my
God. Was just one of those moments where I was like, my whole life just crumbled in front of me. And I was like, is this, I didn't like eat for a month. I didn't, like, it was one of those, I had never been in that place. And I'm not that kind of girl to let that kind of stuff get to me, where it's like, I could be like, yeah, fuck off. Like, go enjoy your stupid life with some bitch. But for me, it was like, I had put so much of my happiness in someone else as opposed to putting it in myself. And during that relationship, like, I had realized that I had not focused on myself. You know, I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't taking care of my mind. I wasn't taking care of my friends. I was just focused on him and us and me trying to get him off the ground, because he was looking for work, and I was helping him with his job, and I was so focused on his happiness as opposed to my own. And
yours took the back seat, huh?
Yeah, and then I realized, like, that's how you lose yourself. That's how you really get to a place where you're nothing anymore, and you feel like, how do I get out of this? And it took me a while to get myself off the floor. I think it was like 6 months of like really a dark place where I was like, everything I'm doing means nothing. Wow. Everything I'm doing is for nothing.
Which is such a polar opposite from everything else we've heard in your story. You've had such confidence in knowing in what you're doing, and now it's
exactly
the complete opposite.
Yeah, and it's something I'd never experienced before, that feeling of just like worthlessness.
Yeah.
And picking myself up from that really was in steps. At first it was all health. It was all my body. And then I realized, okay, the more I wake up and force myself to do like 10 jumping jacks today, the next day I'm going to wake up and do 20, and the next I'm going to do 40, and then the next I'm going to feel like, okay, I feel happier. You know, those endorphins really help your mind, and then help you feel creatively, you know, inspired. And then at that point I was like, I remember I was scrolling through Instagram and I was like, this girl was singing. She was singing at some venue in New York, very fancy. Maybe she was at the Plaza or something. And I was like, how does this bitch get hired to sing at the Plaza? What is going on that I don't know about?
What is she doing that I'm not?
Yeah. And I messaged her and I was like, girl, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I work with this company that hires singers to do like events. And I'm like, what kind of events?
Yeah. Please tell me more.
Yeah, tell me more. What do I not know about this? She's like, yeah, for like weddings and parties and private things and like, you know, celebrities events and all these private parties and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, what's the company? And I Googled them and I was like, I'd like to audition. And they're like, great, come on in. I auditioned within like 30 minutes, or I think a couple songs. They're like, great, you're hired. I was like, when do I start? And then I was like shocked. I was like, why do I not go for these things more often that I don't?
Been waiting for me the whole time.
And I didn't, you know, there's sometimes when you get a job, you're like, why didn't I go for this sooner? Because this is great.
I did it.
I did it.
Yeah.
And I kind of changed my whole mindset of like, why am I focusing on anything else but my own happiness? Like if I can still make music and still sing and now get paid for it and for me, I saw it as like a muscle, you know, like singing and performing is like a muscle and you need to train it. And so by doing these kinds of shows, you're training your muscle into just being more confident on stage. And I had never done anything like that prior. I was doing festivals. I was doing my own shows. I had been doing club dates. I'd been doing things with DJs, you know, like 10-minute shows, 20-minute, 30-minute shows, maybe, you know, a couple songs with the DJ and thanks, good night. And these are 4-hour gigs. And I was like,
wow.
And I get there and it was my first gig at the Plaza. There was a band with a bunch of different singers. I never sing with other singers. I always sing alone. So I was like, what am I getting myself into?
It's a big level up.
It was just a way for me to be out of my comfort zone, you know? And then at that point, like the ball started rolling. I started meeting all these other singers and all these other guitar players and piano players. And I was like, I love you. I want to work with you.
Stepping into a big new world.
It was a whole new thing. And it was just by focusing one step at a time on what makes me happy, you know? And then the more gigs I would do, the more energy I had because I had been working out. And then my body got super tight. I was feeling super good. I was feeling like unstoppable. And then all these other things that come to you, it's like you're a magnet, you know, when you have a certain energy, the people around you kind of grab.
You'll find yourself in the places that you could only imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then you start realizing that you can vibrate with the people that are on also those levels of self-awareness and healing and all these things. And at that point I was like, you know what? Nothing is going to take away my love for myself in a non-selfish way of like just to be able, you know, you always say you can't give from an empty glass. Yeah. You know, you have to really fill up yourself as much as you can in order to give to someone else. And
you have to know what your own capacity is. You have to know how much you can actually fill up yourself. You have to know your worth, know your value, know what you're willing to give up. You know, you will only ever know yourself and your fullest potential when it's been completely drained in these situations.
100%. You don't know how strong you are until you as strong as all you have, right? Is that the quote? It's all you can be. And I never thought I'd get out of that place. I was like, I'm worth literally nothing. I would cry in every situation. I get my nails done, I'm just crying. They're like, what's wrong? I was like, I hate my life. Like, I hate everything about everything.
Like, do you want a different shade? Like, no, it's not you. It's fine.
No, it was just the worst. It was everything. Like, I had dyed my hair brown. I had gained like 50 pounds. It was just like the worst time of my life where I was like, I don't feel like me at all. Like, it was just, getting out of that was was so hard. And, you know, my mom was a big part of helping me. She like slept with me in my apartment for
Mom pops up a lot here. She sounds
really
like
does.
sounds like a warrior in your side.
She
at all
really
times.
is. You know, sometimes you just are grateful for your friends and your family and, you know, the people that really care about getting you out of those places. And that's when I see someone going through that, I'm like, I remember how dark it was. There was no light. It was like, I don't want to cry talking about it now, but it was just
I cry all the time on the show.
It was a place that I did not see light. There was no potential getting out of it, you know, and without my friends, it would not have happened, you know. And for me being knowing who I am, I'm a strong girl. Like, I don't let shit get to me that bad.
Clearly.
And knowing that I had the potential of going to that place of like, I don't know if I want to see tomorrow, you know, like that is like, how is that even possible to think it, you know? So now that if I see people that are going through those things, it really makes a difference when you reach out to those people. It really, like, you think it won't make a difference and they won't notice or they won't care. It makes such a huge difference. Maybe even like a stranger, you know?
Oh yeah.
That you can see going through something. You're like, it's going to pass. I'm here for you, whatever it is.
Pass.
Yeah. And it always does. It's just a cloud. You know, clouds come, clouds go. It always passes. No matter how deep and dark and awful and terrible, it will always pass. And that's the beauty of just keeping going ever forward, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's weather. It's weather. Sometimes you'll have a great few months and sometimes it will be super cloudy. But thinking that it's over because it's cloudy it will never stay that way.
If you think that, then it will be.
No, even if you think it will be, it won't be. Like, it's like that feeling.
You will act in a way that you're going to be getting in your way the whole time.
Yes. Yeah. Of course, you get in your way because you don't feel that there's anything forward of you. But like I said, it's like it's like the smallest difference that makes all the difference. You know, just getting up and being like, I'm gonna take a walk today. I'm gonna go around the block.
It can be just that simple.
Yeah.
It literally can be.
Yeah.
Your example earlier of today 10 jumping jacks, tomorrow 20.
Yeah.
Take a walk. You'd be surprised what one thing you will do will stick to give you the traction to completely change the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, and music helped me with that because I can't work out without music, right? So if I'm doing 10 jumping jacks to a song, and if it's a good song, I'm like, this feels good, and I'm going to keep doing it. And each song, you know, and that's kind of where I think my will for music comes from. It's that will to like help heal or help change or help motivate or help inspire. And when I write, it's like, who am I talking to? You know, a lot of producers and writers always tell me, they're like, write something that you would want to hear for yourself. And I'm like, I get it. But I'm also like thinking to myself, who's listening to this and can they relate to it?
There's so many other people out there, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing because, yeah, you make music from your own experiences, but everyone's experienced something that you've experienced, right? You're not ever alone in your experience.
I agree.
So it's relatable, and even if it's 1 or 5 people or whatever it may be that's listening and relating to it, I feel like I've won something, you know, like I've done my job.
How have you been weathering the storm of the last year? Because your world, I can only imagine. I know how my world changed.
Man.
I mean, in the entertainment industry, singing, performing, like, what has this last year been like for you?
So I was in another relationship for a few years that ended last year, like at the beginning of COVID.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I was kind of healing myself through that in a much more productive way, obviously.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, and obviously it was a very different situation. You know, I was living abroad. I was living in the Netherlands, and I was going back and forth every 2 weeks for 3 years.
From the Netherlands to
Los
here?
Angeles, yeah. It was a lot of fun. 18-hour one-way flights, yeah.
Wow.
So it was definitely like I had no sense of time. I was in constant jet lag for years. And so
yeah, immediately I'm just like, oh, I feel so bad for her circadian rhythm. Like the health coach in me is like, no.
You have no idea. You have no idea. I would sleep on the planes. That was my sleep time. I was like, okay, it's plane. I had like my routine, you know, I travel with my dogs. So it's like I one on my lap, one on the floor. I got my pillow, I got my blanket. I'm like, good night. Thank you. Don't wake me up for lunch. Like, you know, like I was a pro. Wow. I was a pro. And so 3 years of this, I sort of, you know, did the most. I was doing all the things. I would fly in from Holland, land at 6 p.m., change into an outfit and in the Uber and go directly to my gig, sing all night while it's like another time zone for me, leave, come back, change my clothes in my suitcase, and then get back on a plane, go back to Holland. It was like that for 3 years.
How?
Love. And then I did the voice of Holland because when I was there, I was like, you know what,
Yeah.
I need to do something there. So I auditioned for the voice, and it worked out. The Dutch are funny. I love the Dutch, but they're very like, we're Dutch and you're not. You know what I mean? Which I was like, okay.
So not maybe like the most warm, welcoming group. Okay.
No. And I had really expected differently because America's always, TV shows, they're very welcoming of other cultures and other people. Where are you coming from? Oh, I'm coming from, South Africa. Oh my God, that's so cool. What are you singing for us?
We love it.
We love it because, that's what life's all about. But in Holland, they're
not so much the opposite.
No. I realized that I was very much not the style of people.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm Latina, which I think also is another vibe in itself.
100%.
I'm very warm. I'm very touchy. I'm very expressive. I'm very, I don't want to say over the top because I'm not over the top, but I'm very like
lively.
Lively.
Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
I'm like lively. That's a good word. But in Holland, they have a saying: if you're the tulip that is too tall, you get cut. Yeah, it's like a saying.
That sounds terrible.
Basically, don't stand out. Standing out is a negative in that culture.
Of course, they would pick a tulip analogy.
Yeah, right.
That's good for them.
So, they like to have everything equal, everything the same, everything that fits in the box, everything that's proper. And I think that's a beautiful thing sometimes because, you can relate to your fellow people. But for me, I really thrive on standing out. And I'm very secure of who I am as a person. Like, I would never be like, oh, okay, I guess I have to change what I wear and change who I am and change my attitude. So I showed up on the show like in full Natascha vibes.
Hell yeah.
Thigh-high boots. Like I had some dress with a big slit and I was doing all the things.
You were the tallest tulip.
I was the
tallest tulip. I have no doubt.
And I got cut. So it was one of those moments. They were like, you are the tallest tulip. Go home. Goodbye.
They should make that the slogan when they're kicking people off. It's like 3 X's. No. It's tulips. And the tallest one just... big cinematic scissor coming through.
So it was a bit of an experience for me, And so I was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't the right market for me.
Okay.
So I started, really focusing on how I can benefit from the relationships that I made there while still being who I am, And right now, which is wonderful, thank the Lord above, that Latin music is really at the forefront of the best selling, streams. And it's really the time for Latin people right now to
look at the Grammys this last year. Oh my God,
they swept. Yeah, they swept. It was just beautiful to see, honestly. Yeah. And the majority of the world is, Spanish speaking, like all of South America, and they're just such loyal fans, dedicated fans, and it's who I am, And I sing and speak in Spanish and write in Spanish, and I have some new Spanish projects coming out now, which is really exciting, which I haven't done ever before. So it's like a brand new kind of turn for me.
Wait, yeah.
And I'm just excited to be more authentic into what I do. And so what's great is that a lot of these DJs in Holland and beyond are really on that wave as well. They want Spanish lyrics. They want a Spanish vibe. Reggaeton is huge. Those influences are so prevalent in today's pop music that it's like a blessing for someone like me who is really doing it naturally. Like hearing The Weeknd sing in Spanish, I'm like, why?
Oh my God, I love that.
Love it?
It's so good.
His biggest Spanish, I'm like, why?
He could write a song about a ham sandwich and I would love it. He can do no wrong about it.
He's a good guy. I met him in New York. Sweet guy. He speaks French fluently, Oh,
he's French-Canadian, right?
Yeah, we were speaking French together, and he's just a sweet, nice person. This was years ago, so I don't know what he's turned into, but, good guy, And
I saw him years ago, right at the cusp before he made it big, when he was people were still just only listening to trilogies, mixtapes, on a side stage at a festival back in Maryland. Like not even like a good side stage. It was like a weird time. But it was the most. I was probably like from here to my kitchen away from him, and now like he's selling out.
Yeah, he's doing good. He's doing good stuff. That's the thing. It's all in time, and it just takes a few of the right people, the right energy, the right team. I think it's really a team. He works really closely with his management, with Sal XO, and also they're just a family, you know, and that's what my view was coming into this year, because obviously
he's had the same band for years. Every time I've seen him, every album,
they're
same,
a family.
Same family.
Yeah. And that's the thing about what you were asking about my year and how kind of things changed for me. It was more so like my focus was really based on building my own family and really making my team strong and finding ways to develop that with each project so it sounds and feels consistent, because I'd always kind of worked with this person or that person and I like this and that, but then it's also my consistency in one area was never possible because I was always traveling. Yeah. So now that I'm not traveling,
You're like all over the place, but in a good way.
In a good way, yeah. It was a good thing because I would be in Holland and be like, hey, who can I work in there? And I'd be in LA and like, I only have these 2 weeks. I can only work with who's available these 2 weeks. And then it was never like pre-planned. I mean, it was pre-planned, but it was never like, this is what we're doing at this time. It was like, who can I work with? Because I never knew when I was going to be here, when I was going to be there, what opportunities came, and so when the voice needed me or whenever it was. So.
You just got to be like, seize the moment, seize the day, because that's all you got.
That's all I got right now, yeah. Amazing. And so the good thing is that now this year I was able to sit and plan and focus and create, deadlines and schedules and meet with people that I've been wanting to meet with for so long and work with people that I've been wanting to work with for so long. Amazing. And a lot of the writers that I've been on my list of like wanting to work with, we do Zoom sessions now and they've got time and I've got time and it's just so much more focused, I feel, this year. And yeah, it sucks that I haven't sung on a stage in a long time and it's like awful. It's an awful feeling because I'm like dying inside, but the great thing is that I get to create projects, and like our boy Luke here, we made an awesome music video for Thriving, which was my first single of the year, and it's just about finding creatives that you can connect with on an energy level, And when I saw Luke's work, I was like, okay, I'm liking his vibe, like his eye. Yeah. I think it's also hard to...
The vision.
Yeah, it's hard to find someone that you like their vision and then you like who they are as people, because I like a lot of people's vision, but I'm like, I don't want to work with you.
Usually in LA for me, it's been one or the other.
Yeah. That's an issue.
Got lucky with a few for sure.
And that's the thing. When you find those people, like those are the ones you need to stick with and then keep creating with, because then it's natural. It's not like a forced thing. And that's when it's just feels right and it gets done faster and things just move the way they're supposed to, and then bigger projects will snowball into creating the direction you're trying to go in. So that's my goal for the year, is just to continue building my family and my team and making things happen that I've been planning. And right now it's going to be a new record every about 6 weeks. I have another one coming out in like 3 weeks, which is really exciting. And then with each a video and
we'll have to make sure this is going to drop in support of that. It's got to be like,
oh, you're cute. Thank you. But it's going to be fun, and I'm excited to just do more collaborations with people that I've been really wanting to connect with. And yeah, that's all you can do.
Kind of getting towards the end. I do have one question in mind that you're such a unique guest in terms of your life experiences, but how you have done those experiences. You've been up on a stage, you've been in front of cameras, you've been clearly like stepping into who you are, knowing who you are, but for the world to see. How do you come back from that? How do you go from stages, pageants, TV, reality TV, as kind of having your business out there to like back to real life?
I don't really see it as a huge difference, to be honest. I don't see it as like, this is my stage persona and this is my me persona. I feel like I should have that maybe, like, Beyonce has her Sasha Fierce. But for me, I'm really myself on and off stage, so I don't feel like that huge difference as to like, how do I get from like being on TV to being off TV. When I did pageants, my mom and I would have this thing called pageant mode. We're in pageant mode, which is like, be really careful of what you say, because I'm kind of the person that will just say how I feel and kind of just oops sometimes. Yeah, okay. I just kind of like...
Got to get into character.
Yeah, it's more like just be mindful, be a bit more mindful. So yeah, when it came to for The Bachelor, I promised myself, I was like, I'm going to be super myself. I'm not going to be overly in my head about what I should say or shouldn't say. I'm just going to be like, this is how I feel about this. If I don't like you, you're going to know it. If I do like you, you're going to feel it. And that's how it's going to be. So, and that's how I am in real life, with my friends or with people that I meet or business relationships. It's like, if I'm not about it, like, I'm not like, okay, that's great. Yeah, maybe we can. No, it's like, thank you. I'm not interested. Okay. And so it's just a part of who I am. I love the camera. I love being in front of the camera. I love being expressive in any which way I can be, musically or creatively, you know. And people ask me sometimes, like, if you weren't doing music, what would you be doing? I would probably still be doing some kind of like I'd love to host a TV show, or I'd love to, like, you know, give and you know, the entertainment news, or you know, something in that essence of like connecting with people while still having the creative space to speak my mind and be who I am, you know. I used to be a host of a TV show back in New York called Teen Time Live. Where it was really fun. I would just do tons of events, and we'd interview like you know, artists or actors or stuff, and it's just, I always loved it. So I could always see myself doing something in the arts. It's always, you know, I think once you know who you are and what makes you happy, that's where you got to stick to. It's all about just being happy. If I wasn't happy doing this anymore, I would be totally okay walking away from it, you know?
Yeah.
And that, you know, that builds into other parts of my life too. Like, I love interior design, and that for me is also a creative aspect.
It's another creative outlet.
Yeah. And you can kind of, and when I come to people's places, I'm always like, okay, what do you need help with? And they'll be like, this. I'm like, perfect, let's do this room over. And like, I enjoy it because it's all about.
I think that was the first thing you said when you came here, like the chandelier.
It's my dream chandelier. I'm not kidding. It's my Restoration Hardware dream.
Yeah. It's lit. Well, not right now, but.
You got to light it for me so I can fully indulge. But yeah, it's just about balance, I think, you know, getting to spend time alone. Like, I also really enjoy my alone time, and I think it's necessary. It was really necessary. And obviously now I've been alone for way too long.
A lot of that alone time.
I'm over it now. Okay. I need the balance on the other end.
I got what I needed. Let's move forward.
Yeah. I think that's, I think this year is going to be a lot more exciting for creatives and the things that are going to be put out there. Because these artists have all had time to really like take a minute and experience, feel, and then deliver, you know?
Yeah.
It's going to be a great year. It's like the Renaissance for us.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I think there are a lot of things that have happened, unfortunately, in industries and health, but like, I truly believe, and I see it in my world and clearly in yours and so many others, that like when we are forced into a corner and it's just adapt, or, you know, you're going to go by the wayside, like we will find a way to survive. We will find a way to not only keep showing up in a similar way, or we're going to find a way that, like, oh my God, why wasn't I doing this the whole time before? It's going to sound weird to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed this last year in the sense that it has given me that, I wouldn't say new perspective, but just like an enhanced perspective of, hey, look what is fucking possible. Look at, if you just choose to show up, and like, to your point of the community and the people around you, like, there is immense power in getting clarity on what you want to do and who you are. But when you can do that with a group of people, like, it takes that community in order for all of our greatness, the potential to come out, I believe. 100%. And that's given me that this year.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing, you know, and that doesn't happen in many people's lifetimes, you know? So it's like it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. But then again, I feel like everyone's energy levels are on that plane, you know. They're all itching to do something more meaningful with themselves, and these are times when you really realize what's important to you, you know, like the people in your life that's important. I have so many divorces, so many breakups, but also so many engagements and so many babies, and you know,
I've had like 5 weddings get rescheduled this past year. So.
It's crazy. You know, you really realize, can I spend my life with this person now that I'm stuck with them, or can I, you know, what have I been avoiding now that I'm still, and it's like anything, like you said, being put in a corner and then realizing, you know, what can I do now to just find inner peace? Yeah. You know, because it was super stressful at the beginning of last year. I was not well. I was unwell.
It was a wild time
really
for everybody.
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I left to Europe, spend time with my family. I went to France and I was there for a few months, and I was like, you know what? I need to get out of my bubble. I need to just be with family. And I did that for a few months, and it recharged me, you know, and then when I came back, I was like, all right, let's go.
I love that. I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, the final question I ask everybody, the mantra of the show is kind of telling you a little bit of the backstory, is just, it is all encompassing of all these little ups and downs, peaks and valleys, tragedies and wins and successes that mold us. And if we choose to keep showing up, to keep pushing forward, to go ever forward, like, there's a lot that's possible, and there's a lot that we already have in us that we didn't even realize. You have such an incredible story, and I've loved, and I'm very appreciative for you sharing so much of it. But I want to know, what does that mean to you? How do you live a life ever forward?
I mean, for me, like I think I've been saying a lot, is it's more so the relationships in your life and the relationship with yourself, and the relationships with the people that you love and that love you. If you can find a way to connect with those people, and for me, I think my purpose, what makes me keep going, is a healing in a way of like helping someone. If I see they're going through something, of how to share my experience to help them get through what they're getting through, and then they'll see that that's something they can do to help someone else. In a sense, for me, music does that, like I said, and it's just about making those relationships matter, because at the end of the day, it's all in our head. Like everything that we do, everything that we want, everything that we feel, like it's all in our head. We can create it for our own realities in our head, and whatever it is that we want, we can have it. It's just the mindset that you put yourself in. And I think when you have other people in your life that really give you those positive energy to keep that mindset going and to fulfill what it is that you're trying to accomplish by just helping you in your mindset, that's like the best thing you can do to move forward. Yeah, because I think for me, in the times that I've been held back or been stagnant has been when I've had people tell me that I can't do something, or that I won't be able to, or that I should give up. And the ones that have told me that, you're doing great, or you're this is different, just don't be afraid to fail, go for it. It always brings me back to that quote of like, what would you do if you knew you could never fail? It's that feeling of like, I'm just going to risk it, and I need someone who's going to be like, I got you, go for it. Yeah. And that keeps me going.
Well, I got you.
Oh, you're sweet. I got you. This is going to be, fun.
Such a fun time here. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, your music, your social media, of course, we're going to have everything linked down below. But if somebody's listening, watching right now, like where can they go to connect with you the most right now?
Right now I have everything on my Instagram. So at Natascha Bessez, Natascha. And from there, Natascha. And then, my YouTube and Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah, Spotify's the spot to go to listen.
Well, Natascha, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah. And ever forward. We're moving forward. It's going to be a good year. I feel it in my bones.
I feel it too.